Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. I'm sure there are many here today who can remember from your high school chemistry class what the role of a catalyst is in a chemical reaction. The dictionary says this about a catalyst. A catalyst is a substance that allows or causes a chemical reaction to take place, but does not itself change. That is, a chemist can put two different substances together in a glass flask, for example, but until he or she mixes in a third substance, which is the catalyst, the first two substances will not react with each other to produce the desired end product. Here's an analogy. Think about a bean seed in some rich but dry soil. If you plant the seed in the dry soil and don't add water, nothing will happen. The soil remains just soil, and the seed continues being just a seed. But if water is added, the seed will sprout because the water softens the seed, and the moistened nutrients in the soil are now able to enter the seed and allow it to grow into a mature and fruitful bean plant. The water itself doesn't change. It remains water. But it has caused the soil and the seed to interact with each other to produce the desired result. So a catalyst causes something to happen between two things or two substances which wouldn't happen without it. My high school chemistry teacher, Mr. Graber, would be so proud of me this morning. Keep in mind this understanding of the role of a catalyst as we think about the teaching of St. Paul in today's reading from his letter to the Colossians. In his readings, Paul says, "Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, is revealed, then you also will be revealed with him in glory." The key word in those verses I'm thinking about is life. When Christ, who is your life, is revealed. And here, St. Paul is not simply talking about life as our ability to draw a breath and maintain a heartbeat. He's not talking about being alive in that strict biological sense. Rather, he's speaking about a life that goes beyond mere existence in the world. He's referring to a higher level of life, to a life lived in greater fullness, to a life that is guided by clear purpose and marked by deep meaning. Paul's passionate hope for us is a life where we experience the satisfaction of becoming fully the person of God we're meant to be, of finding a vocation, of discovering a vocation or line of work that truly satisfies, of experiencing a life filled with hope and possibility and expectation, of a life that is excited about making a positive difference in the world. Paul wants a life that recognizes and finds joy in the beauty of the natural world, a life that is generous, in which we are happy to be givers, a life where we willingly give of ourselves for the well-being of others. He wants us to have a life marked by thankfulness, even in difficult times, a life filled with life-giving relationships of all kinds that we can count as great blessings. All of this and more is life with a capital L. And it certainly involves far more than simply having a pulse. But what is it that makes this expanded understanding and experience of life possible for us? And here's where our understanding of how a catalyst works, I think, can be helpful. Because Paul clearly states that it is through Christ that a capital L life becomes possible. Christ and his ways are that catalyst. When added to an ordinary life, enables it to become an extraordinary life. Aligning our values and priorities with those of Jesus is what can make a good life a great life. Consider the saints of the church. Some are well known, others not so much. Mother Mary Kate often talks about a saint in her encouraging word phone messages to us each Thursday morning. Well known or not, what all these people, what all these saints, often very ordinary men, very ordinary women, have in common are lives that were shaped and molded by Jesus Christ. And their lives were nothing short of spectacular in terms of their deep goodness and the servant love they offered the world. They were a reflection to a high degree of the deep goodness and love of Christ himself. They carried in their hearts the healing love of Christ to all around them, and oftentimes in times of major challenge and with great personal sacrifice. It was Christ, the great catalyst, whose transforming love, when added to their otherwise ordinary lives and given permission to act, that transformed their hearts into his heart, that they became the saints we know them to be, and the saints that you and I are called to be as well. In today's gospel reading from Luke, Jesus speaks to the folly of defining a, quote, rich life as one that is able to fill ever larger barns with their wealth. This isn't really a put down on people who happen to have significant material wealth. In fact, the teaching isn't about wealth at all. Rather, Jesus seeks to remind us that a truly rich life is something else entirely. It's about being rich towards God, as Jesus puts it. That is, rich in the ways of God's Son, Jesus. A life rich in love, in mercy, in generosity, rich in compassion and forgiveness. These are the kind of riches truly to be sought after and to be accumulated, if you will. To have them is really everything. And we are what can make one's heart truly sing. A few years ago, I read stories about two married couples where the husbands and wives ended up dying within hours of each other. One couple in England had been married for 73 years, and the other couple in California, 75 years. The couple in California, Les and Helen Brown, were both 94 when they died just 24 hours apart. Their son said family and friends could never have imagined the couple apart. There was a certain sense of inseparability there. They even shared the same birthday. The couple in England, Jack and Wynne Kempshall, died just 16 hours apart. And their daughter reported that they were both very special people. The fact that their marriage lasted a happy 75 years tells all. They also did things together, and it seemed fitting, she said, that they left this life together. Another daughter said, they never seemed to want to be without each other. During an interview one time, Wynne Kempsell said, we were incredibly lucky, really, to have been so happy. Jack, her husband, agreed and added, I think marriage is all about helping one another. And I do what I'm told. That helps. So when Jesus speaks of being rich toward God, he's speaking about the kind of riches found in marriages like those of Les and Helen and of Jack and Wynne. An enduring, self-offering love like the love of Jesus made it possible for two hearts to beat as one. What satisfaction, what richness, what joy that can bring to a person's life. And the same, of course, can be said for friendships that are grounded in a Christ-like love, or when a vocation in life is sensed to be a true calling from God. With Christ at the center of our life's work, at the center of our relationships and activities, when we allow the model of Christ's life to guide the use of our time, talent, and treasure, we will discover a richness to life we never before knew was possible. In the second chapter of the book of Acts, the author tells of the quote-unquote awe and gladness of heart the first believers experienced when they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Members of a church family often experience this same awe. With Christ at the center of all it does, together, people of a congregation from very different backgrounds, very different levels of wealth and political persuasions can find themselves able to rejoice with one another and to walk with one another through difficult times, all made possible through their common commitment to Christ and his ways. I see and experience this rich way of living all the time here at St. Aidan's. You and I do not have to accept what can feel like an ordinary or mundane life. We do not have to settle for mediocrity or with a routine that can seem mindless. And the important relationships of our lives need not devolve into a numbing kind of sameness and become drained of joy. And our lives and our work lives can be more than just a necessary burden we take on to earn a living. All the above can be transformed into something special, even extraordinary, if the ways of Christ are added to the mix. The key is Jesus Christ. He is the spiritual catalyst, if you will, who enables us to discover, or perhaps rediscover, what is truly rich and truly rewarding and truly satisfying about being alive. I know I'm preaching to the choir for many of you. Christ's ways are already at the heart of all you do in your lives, even if imperfectly so. And you could testify as well as I to the truthfulness of what St. Paul and Jesus teaches us. Others of us may not be so sure about surrendering to the ways of Christ for our lives. My appeal to you would be to give his ways a try and see what happens. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The author of 1 John says, whoever has the Son has life. And in today's epistle reading, St. Paul says, set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, is revealed, then you also will be revealed with him in glory. Amen.